Welcome, great agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, October 10th, 2019, and this is Mastermind call number 248. You probably heard us all chatting there. We came back from a great partners meeting last week in Lake Lure, North Carolina, and I'm still on the road. Tim is back in the office. I think Chad is at the Bigger Pockets conference today in Tennessee, but we do expect him to be with us momentarily. So we do have 3 people in the queue. There are room for more, guys. If it's your first time on the call, you come on muted. If you have anything you would like to discuss, issues, challenges, comments, criticism, success stories, it's just an open forum, and this is your call. So we really want you to participate, and we appreciate it. And I'm stalling for Chad to get on. Tim, anything you want to say while we wait for him?
No, but just go ahead and get started, and like I said, he'll join us. While you're talking, I'll see if I can round him up.
All right, perfect. We do have 3 in the queue, guys. Just hit *6 and then hit 1 if you'd like to actively participate. And our first caller this week is phone number ending in 8877. You're up first.
Hey, guys, it's Scott in Central Florida. I just wanted to thank you guys for doing these calls. I'm an agent here in Central Florida, and I'm not even sure where my office is. I go about twice a year, so it's nice to get on these calls and be able to share stories and stuff. I just want to share a quick win and then ask a question. I had the privilege of meeting some people that had inherited some property near a small college called Central Florida, and I set up the meeting so that I was the last one there, and they'd had an offer on this property for $70,000. It's 10 minutes to University of Central Florida and Valencia Junior College. I did some research, and people have been buying. It's a 3-acre parcel. People have been buying those and putting what I call one-street wonders in, street with a cul-de-sac with 14 homes or whatever. So they were inclined to take the $70,000 off cash offer. They were thrilled. I showed them the numbers. They let me list it, and we sold it in 22 hours for $240,000, and it closes tomorrow.
Oh, whoa! So you got them 300% markup over what they were willing to take. That is incredible.
Yeah. And it's really fulfilling because they're older and they don't have internet. They don't have cell phones, so every time I've needed to get something signed, I've had to drive downtown Orlando, but like I said, it's been fulfilling. They're just thrilled. The question I have, I've had a couple of deals pop up where I've contacted people that show up as the personal representative, but they're not aware that they're the personal representative, or they have no idea what's going on. How does that happen, or how can that happen?
Yeah, the most common reason it happens, Scott, the phone numbers we give you, generally the first column is generally if the executor's information is listed in the tax records, but it's rare that happens. The rest of the phone numbers we give you are ones that we find ourselves. We've got a very thorough screening process where we go through a lot of different databases to find good phone numbers, and the most common reason that'll happen is you're probably maybe on the 2nd or 3rd or 4th phone number, and it's probably somebody with a similar name in the same general geographic area. So it might be a different John Smith. Because if someone is the executor of an estate, they would know. So have you qualified a bit? Just ask them. Do you know Bob Smith, or do you know about the estate of Bob Smith? Have you mentioned that or not?
Yeah, and the 2 that I've had recently just had no idea. So that
Let me
explains it.
Ask a quick question. Are they is it the right name, and did you verify that it's the right address, but they don't know anything about it, or is it not the right address as well? In other words,
no,
John at 123 Elm.
I've had one of each. I've had one that it was the correct address, and one that they said I have no idea where this property is, and I don't know anything about it.
Okay, but the one that was, for example, was John Smith at 123 Elm, and that was showing as the personal representative and the address for the personal representative. He did not know he was the personal representative?
He did not. He did not, and it come to find out it was a brother that was the personal representative. So they got all tangled up and family warfare, so I kind of made my exit.
So it's possible that when the probate was actually filed, the one that you talked to was indeed named as the personal representative, and something happened in the courts to get either his brother challenged it, or it was an either or one or the other was appointed. But that probably happened at the court. But the initial filing may have shown him as the PR, because that's the only way it could get on the docket. It would have had to have shown that way, and then the brother would have had to have gotten substituted. So that one, and you kind of found out the answer. There was some sort of a hassle between the brothers. The other one is
Right.
just what Jim said, which is that if it shows up and it's not the address, but it's, for example, it's John Smith, not at 123 Elm, but 627 Jones Street. Well, that's the one that we found, and we thought it would have been the right one based on a bunch of pretty elaborate stuff we do to screen it, but they're not always going to be perfect. That's why we always recommend that you do the mail to begin with, to at least try to pick as much of the low-hanging fruit as you can.
Right. And there's, believe me, I'm not complaining. There are plenty of leads. So, if you've been in sales very long, it's just, you got to be just as smart to know when to walk away as when to press forward. So those I just put in the trash bin and move on to the others.
No, and it's a great question, because it does happen. We're like anybody else. It's not a perfect system, and we're not sitting there as it's filed looking the person in the eyeball and verifying their name and phone number. We do the best that we can based on after the fact, and we do a really good job of doing that. So, like you said, you got a lot of good opportunity, and that's what we specialize in.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
And a great
Scott,
win, by the way. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I was going to get back to that win. They wanted 75,000. You got them 225. 70. You got
240.
240. Wow, I got to get my facts straight. So that's almost that's like 350% more. I hope.
Don't cut my commission now. Don't cut my commission.
Exactly. Hey, did you took a standard commission on that? Did you get 6 or 7%? Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you asked them? I know you, and I probably already know the answer to this. Have you asked them to write you up a little testimonial or referral? Because that would be incredible on the letters you send out. I got somewhat yeah.
I've got them doing it, and a guy from California that I'm handling 2 for here. So, yep, I'm gonna add those to my website, and then when I redo brochures, I'm gonna add it there as well.
Boy, that is great.
It also shows a lot of ethics on from your standpoint, because you could have potentially found a straw buyer, bought it for less, and done a lot of other stuff, and you did exactly what you promised and took good care of your customer, and that's exactly the kind of people want to deal with. So, couldn't be a better opportunity for a great testimonial.
Funny, I was going to say the same thing, Tim. That Scott, I assume that you're an investor also. That you occasionally buy and flip properties. You're not just a realtor, right? Yeah.
No,
yeah, along the lines of providing value first. There wasn't an urgency there, so you didn't succumb to the temptation to buy it and make a killing. You really did what was right for the customer. So that's all. Yeah, that's awesome. That'll come back to you tenfold, my friend. Congratulations. That's a great story.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right.
Jim.
We only have...
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sorry I'm late. I'm here. We had the opportunity to interview the CEO of Habitat for Humanity on the Jimmy Carter site, so I apologize for being late, but I'm here.
Yeah, Chad has been working with Jimmy and Rosalind Carter, and literally, I saw the pictures of them, and they're Secret Service agents, and you're the photographer, I think, for the project, right, Chad, for Habitat for Humanity. So, great story. The guy's 94 years old, and he's 95. Out there hammering. 95. He's literally hammering nails. May we all be that productive that long. So awesome. You heard Scott's story, or did you come in on the tail end of it?
I did catch the tail end, but the summary sounds pretty exciting. So congrats to you. And the one thing that I'll add, Scott, you've got the written testimonial side down. One of the best things I have ever done is have every buyer and seller do a video testimonial for me. And in today's age of social media marketing, that can go a really long way. So, for example, if you get a 3-minute video testimonial and make a landing page for that specific transaction, then you can run a Facebook ad with, here how going through probate. Do you know how you can, maximize equity, save equity, and preserve legacy? And then click them out to that landing page where it's an interview format of you talking to the homeowner, and where they can actually see your face and see you interacting with the homeowner. It just feels so much more real. And that's just an idea to give you an edge. Like, we find 86 to 90% match rates on our probate leads in Facebook audiences. And so anyways, just an idea to take that a step further and really get the word out there, have some kind of evergreen marketing running to these folks in addition to your direct mail and your phone call efforts. You can also be using those testimonials for social media marketing.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I dare anybody to beat that win, but you never know, Scott. That's a great way to start the call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, we have 2 more in the queue. We've got plenty of room for more. Just hit *6 and hit 1. Ton of people on the call. You don't have to have, your story doesn't have to be as good as Scott's, but please come and share it. And we're here for you guys, so don't be shy. Hit *6 and then hit 1. Otherwise, the next 2 people, I hope you have very long questions. Next up is phone number ending in 3723. You're up next.
Oh, I don't have a question. I'm just trying to listen in. I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So you're just getting started in the probate biz? Or
I'm getting interested, absolutely, and I want to find out more for sure.
Okay. Well, I have your phone number. I have a feeling one of our awesome salespeople might be calling you right after the call, if that's okay. They can kind of walk you through the details.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, we only have one more person in the queue, guys. Come on. Hit *6 and hit 1. Don't be shy. We usually run out of time to handle everyone. Phone number ending in 7976. You're up next, and we have all the time you need till somebody else jumps in.
Okay, great. You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. It's Renee. I just so appreciate you guys being here. I'm just getting going on this journey, so all my immediate questions are getting answered. I did go through the first, I'll call it 2 months of phone numbers that I had, including all of the attorneys. So I feel, accomplished in that, and some of them have gotten second calls, not second messages, but just, calling through kind of like David Fennell style. Just as some feedback, I did notice that I may start calling them the moment I get the phone numbers. I mean, here in Los Angeles, it being such a competitive market, that as I waited, I think other people, whether they're in all the leads or, just other people with probate phone numbers, kind of got to some folks ahead of me. And so I had an observation. There was a good conversation I had with an elderly gentleman out of area, and ultimately he went with another company. I wasn't able to probe as much as I wanted to. I think I was kind of the fool, not the favorite. That's a Chris Voss thing in this situation. He was just looking for backup information. But the company here has an interesting model. They are 2 real estate agents that have a full-time, probate business with an operation in Orange County and in San Diego. And they will actually, if the property needs it, of course, but they'll actually go in and like rehab to upgrade the property at no cost to the owner and then get paid out of escrow. So I was just curious if you heard anybody else doing that, as a business model, and that you can answer that towards the end. But really my questions were, when there's, you've said this before, but when there's no attorney in the name, that means they're representing themselves. Is that correct? They just don't have an attorney at all.
Yeah, and what you'll find about 20% of the time in California, folks will start out like that. So while they're the petitioner, that's known as pro per, and when they've been appointed as the administrator, it's pro se. And oftentimes, especially in California, they get neck deep in it and realize they need legal help, and then an attorney has to clean up what they've, what the snowball of stress they've created. So a lot of times it ends up costing them more money, and if they overlook something, it can cost them exponentially more. And if you watch the video with John Fraker, the probate attorney in Northern California, he has dozens and dozens of stories where these people come to him late in the process, and he finds them, and it's almost like working with a bad CPA, right? You can hand that return to a good CPA, and he can see all the mistakes. And in taxes, you can file an amendment, but in probate, a lot of times, if it's done, it's done. So you can use that to, encourage people that, did you use an attorney when you closed on your last house? Then why would you handle like the entire estate without legal representation? Like it can result in, hundreds of thousands of dollars lost if you make a mistake. So, and it's a good way to also open relationships with your attorney referral partners, so you can create marketing pieces with them and put their information on it, because they're not allowed to directly solicit those folks for business. But if you're including them as part of your team, you can indirectly market to them. You can market the attorney's legal services to them. He can indirectly market through your marketing material. So it's it's a huge value point for attorneys, and especially in California, where you can, sit down and make a checklist and say, let's make a list of the 140 variables that need to be managed throughout probate. And the ones that are in red will, or the ones that are legal, will put in red and put your logo, maybe vertically on the side or at the bottom of that. And that could be a piece you put with every letter. So the 20% of people each month that don't have representation, your attorney has an opportunity to be their representation. And you can decide what that looks like, if it's just, if that's the value you bring to him and hoping to get referrals in return, or maybe they're willing to help you like with co-marketing, like help you pay for your mail. But you can use that to your advantage. And it's really rare in your state that it's in the family's best interest to represent themselves, just because your process is very complex.
Okay.
Yeah, Renee, we had that question come up a few months ago, and I don't think it was you. I think it was another agent. But just as a comparison, how many properties start out as for sale by owners, and what percentage of them actually sell themselves? A significant number of them think they could do it until they get in, and then they find a good realtor. It's a similar analogy. I don't know what percentage of that 20 in California end up on their own, but I would guess more than half, maybe 2/3 of them probably connect with the realtor or realize they need one before the process is over.
So there wasn't any other contact information other than a mailing address for these folks, which is fine. It kind of is what it is, right? And I can still see a different campaign for them. So I'm just going to take what Chad said for now. There's not a lot, of the last couple months of numbers. I want to say maybe there's 5. It's not a lot, but it's something like what to do with them, especially if I have no other contact information. And they're either out of state, like the public administrator is either out of state, or honestly, it's a little too far from where I live, because the section I chose was the only section that was available to me. And, just kind of driving as one-off, I mean, it's about an hour away. So I have to decide about the efficiency of time. That's more behind that question as well.
And then, Chad, did you want to touch on her first question there? We did have an agent that was doing that, and I can't remember who it was. It was several months ago. I think she was actually charging a higher commission, which we don't necessarily recommend. But she was doing that. She was going out there doing the gardening and sprucing up the house, kind of giving a facelift. But
well,
go ahead, Chad.
I mean, Renee's talking about a full-blown rehab project. So one of the more advanced things that we teach in Mastery is you can actually partner with the estate. So you obviously do a title search, roll the asset into a trust or a fresh LLC, and you need to have full authority to do this sometimes in California. But to really protect yourself, that's the best way. It's really for your attorney to decide how you secure your investment. But you can have an agreement, whether that's a fresh LLC or a land trust or a limited partnership or a joint venture. Whatever the instrument is, it just needs to establish a cost basis for the asset today, and then the agreement is a 50-50 profit share on any equity that you bring into it. And they're going to provide the asset, you're going to provide the capital and the construction, and then you can split the upside. And I have friends who do this in Northern California. They've been very successful up there around San Francisco. They find they can take a $500,000 house, tear it down, go back to the city, get it planned, permitted, and sell it as a pre-construction project for around $1.5 million. So you can add $1 million in equity to the deal, and you get a $500,000, the estate gets a $500,000, and then you get a much higher listing commission. Obviously, you're getting $1.5 million listing. So if the family has time and no money, that's one way to structure this. Other ways to structure it are find them money, and you can do that through your contractor. If you have a really good contractor who has strong cash reserves, the family can keep all of the equity. You can have your contractor carry the invoice to closing, obviously with a mechanic's lien on the asset, and then they get paid, and just throw a 10 or 12% premium on the invoice. So it's, whatever profit they make plus that 10% that, for carrying that risk. Mm-hmm. And then another way to do it is partner with an estate advance company. And what I'll say to everybody on this call, I've been looking for the right estate advance company for 6 months now. And what I find is there are some shady operators in the space, but there are some good ones. It's hard for me to find a national, like someone who's nationally ethically loaning money to estates. I've found several national, but they're at rates like from 25 to 30% interest, and I can't in good conscience tell you guys to go use that kind of money. But there are folks out there. Renee, actually, I'll have to get in my notes. There's a gentleman just north of you that actually he owns he is a probate attorney. He owns a law firm, and he does estate loans like this. So he'll actually loan you the money for the rehab. He doesn't, and in this case, he doesn't attach a lien, but he'll loan the family the money on a short term, like usually on a 6 to 9 month term, and then they can pay him back at closing. And he obviously has a lot to lose. He is he's a member of the California bar, so he's doing it the right way, and he's being ethical and fair. And obviously it's not going to have a 5% rate because it's a lot of risk. What you have to understand, when people make an advance to an estate like this, they are on the very bottom line of distribution right before the family. So they're taking a risk, and if the other assets are sold for a discount value and there's no money left, they're stuck holding the bag, right? So they do price that risk in. You're going to see a little higher than commercial lending rates, but if there's no other option. For example, we had, and I don't know, she may be on this call, Susan B. So Susan, the last time she did this for a family, she spent $30,000 on the rehab and added $170,000 to the sales price in a matter of weeks. She was able to build that much equity. So she's in Palm Springs. But so there's several options. The other thing I'll point you to, there's a tips from the trainer video that I did on this that it shows you five creative ways to access equity when you think there's no money in the estate. I went through 5 ways that you can actually extract the equity out today to get a higher return tomorrow. And that's if you go to our blog and in the top right of alltheleads.com, put in the word equity, and it's going to bring up several posts. But that's going to be a video blog from, I believe, August, potentially, maybe it's July or August is when that was posted. But that'll give you kind of a longer form, 5 different ideas that you can use from traditional to creative to kind of to compete with people like that in your market. But they're making a strong offer. I mean, it just shows you the value of thinking outside of the box and being creative. And truth be told, they're probably not risking their own capital. If they are, if they are doing that, and their only return is a 6% real estate commission, that's not a good model to follow, because eventually they're going to get pinched and it's going to hurt. And they might be making big gains now and competing with you, but if they lose on one deal, they lose a $100,000 rehab budget. How much have they really made? So just be careful. Like don't take on unnecessary risk to be competitive, but find creative ways to spread that risk around your partners and have the estate share in that risk, like if you get an advance. But so just don't take unnecessary risk is what I tell most people. If you have strong reserves and you want to take this on, that's great. But for most people on this call, it wouldn't be wise to use your own money to put together a program like this, because eventually you're not going to get paid back. And in your market where you're spending $100,000 to $150,000 a rehab, that's going to hurt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I know of this house. I know the neighborhood really, really well, and it's, I wouldn't call it up and coming, but it's kind of an all over the place price point. So it'll be interesting to see, what they do with it. And of course, I didn't even see the property on the inside. The guy said it was really in disrepair, and the brother owned it since 1981. So it's hillside. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around that. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting model because the website is impressive. Like if you are a PR and, you felt like you didn't have much money, and here's a company saying, we'll do all the work up front. It's kind of like Compass is doing that, Compass Concierge, we'll do all the staging and everything, and you don't have to pay anything up front. We'll just, take it out of the escrow. That's been successful with Compass agents in, say, a higher end price point. So it's a similar conversation, where when somebody says they don't have to dig in their pocket to try to make more money, it's enticing. And I know nothing more than that. So maybe I'll, try to keep you guys posted, or, chat offline. I could share the website of that company, and it sounds legitimate, and it's two, realtors with RE/MAX, probably about 45 minutes from where I am, but they just work the whole LA County. And I just have never seen their names before. So just thought I'd share that. So thank you. Do I have time for one more question, or is there more people on the queue?
There's two more, but we got a half hour. You're good. Go ahead.
All right, just real quick. So I did actually call all of the attorneys and then send whomever was the right attorney. A lot of times it was the assistant, whomever was going to get that, and so just made initial contact. Do you guys have any kind of a drip? I mean, I think what I would do, but outside of trying to visit everybody, like a kind of a drip campaign, or call every 30 days or send a letter, just to make sure you're there on their radar?
So we don't have anything pre-made to hand you. That's something that we are working on, an email system that we can basically just set up for you guys, for both the personal representatives and the attorneys. We have some, I don't know how much Jim disclosed in the beginning of this call, but I mean, there's a lot of, we have more great ideas than we can get to right now. So that's one that it is on our development, like our, product development calendar. Hopefully we can do that either later this quarter or early next quarter.
Okay.
And Chad, I was sworn to secrecy, so I didn't give away anything for a change.
And not so much like what you're going to say, or but would you recommend, like, for me to start now, so I'm not waiting right to the end of the quarter or beginning of next? What is once a month too much? What, just kind of thoughts on that?
It all comes down to value, and I think we shared some of those ideas last week, right? So
yeah.
I think I gave you some ideas on copywriting, like what you could do. I mean, once a month is certainly reasonable, especially if you're providing value. And maybe you could do a monthly probate summary and just say, there were, as you may or may not, and I know you guys are representing several cases, but what you may or may not know is, there were 53 filings, and 5 of those did not have legal representation. I would like, remember, we can always include you in our marketing pieces free of charge. If you'd like to chat, give me a call, buy you a coffee. And just something short and sweet like that. And they get used to seeing it month after month after month. You are summarizing what you're showing them, what they're missing, right? You're showing them the cases they don't have. And eventually, that's something that eventually, even if it's a paralegal, eventually they're going to have a slowdown in their business. We all do. Like, it happens to all of us. And when that happens, when the time is right, they'll see that monthly report, and they'll be like, oh, all right, let's call this chick. I mean, I could use a cup of coffee anyways. And boom, and there's your in. So something like that's actually valuable to them. Like, don't make the mistake most email marketers do in talking about yourself, because they don't care. They hear people talk about themselves all the time. Find something that's actually valuable to them and their legal firm, and put them on that kind of a drip. Like maybe it's a newsletter, LA Probate newsletter, and you tell stories that you've heard, and highlight businesses, highlight your vendor partners, and things like that. Show them, like, this is one of our vendor partners, and why the law firms love them. And you could, highlight your estate sale company, but really tilt that message toward, like, tilt it as a legal message. This is how our estate sale partner benefits our legal partners, and stuff like that will show them you're thinking outside of the box, and you can actually benefit their firm and their clients. Yeah, perfect. Okay, yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Just want to touch base on that.
And lastly, I had downloaded the CSV file. I did put this in as a request, but I wanted to hear it maybe from all three of you. I downloaded the CSV file, but the weirdest thing is that some phone numbers are coming through and then some aren't, like the personal representative, number one phone number isn't coming through. So I don't know what I'm doing because it's coming from the system. Right?
It's nothing you're doing. So
yeah.
we have 5 phone number slots for the personal representative. Right. Slot number 1 is always reserved for if there was a phone number recorded on public record, which is almost never the case. The reason we have to go out and put so much effort into getting you the other 4 phone numbers is because there's almost never a PR phone number recorded at the county. So slot number 1 is a courthouse phone, the number that is on record, and slots 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the ones that our system finds for you.
Okay, so when I'm uploading it into an auto dialer because it really did take me a long time to finger dial all these. Is that I would then just disregard that column and go with 2, 3, 4, 5, and then number 2 would basically be the public administrator number. Is that correct?
Number 2 is going to be the most likely, and then the likelihood goes down the line.
Right. Okay. Let me try that. Okay.
The other thing you could do is pull it all into Excel and just push all the numbers. Use a formula in Excel, and there's an easy formula that will let you say, if there's nothing here, copy the next cell to the right into this cell and replicate that across. And there's a macro that you can do that with in Excel, and it'll push all the numbers to that first position and then save it out again as a CSV file, so you'll get everything in there and you won't miss any of the numbers.
Okay. Well, yeah, the system will allow me to do whatever the column title is, so it's a little bit of the same difference for what you're saying. It's just that when I put in PR column, PR number 1 column, there's actually nothing in there.
So if there's never one in there, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, if there's never one there, don't worry about it.
It just was a little confusing on my behalf. You can see where you thought, number 1 would be like the potential PR number. So, okay, more logistics question. I'll work it out. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Renee. You are from past experience, when someone is a frequent participant on these calls, it's not too long before they start having successes like Scott did. So I fully expect over the next few weeks you're going to start having some success stories because you're doing all the right things. Congratulations.
From your lips to God's ears. Yeah, I know. I kind of felt like I missed out on a couple. A few people said, "Oh, we're under contract," and this one happened. I'm not too down on myself, but you're like, "Oh man." So just going to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Go get them. Thanks for participating. Guys, we have 2 more in the queue. This is rare, but instead of telling you we're going to close it, I'm going to leave it open because we've got plenty of room for more. Just hit *6 and hit 1, and you'll be up next. And up next is phone number ending in 6248. You're up next.
Good morning. It's Joyce Arnson Morris calling from Orange County, California.
Hey, Joyce.
I see this morning that there's a lot of discussion about rehabbing and that sort of thing, and I am wondering if I should try to figure out how to do that. Is that kind of a necessary thing these days?
So 99% of families won't want to do that, in my experience, but when you have that level of expertise, it shows really well. There's a whole lot of perceived value that comes with that. So if it's not something you're comfortable with, it won't keep you from being successful, but if it's something that if you feel like you want to provide that level of service, it's certainly hard to compete with you if you are.
Did I hear the last caller say that somebody in Orange County, California is doing that on a big basis?
Well, we're not sure of the scale. They've done it for at least one homeowner, and they have a really nice website. It appears that they have their act together and they're providing it as a service, but we're not sure how widespread it is.
Okay.
And I would say, even with the top probate agents and investors I know, they might come across 1 or 2 of these a year. So, and that could change. Like if the word gets out and it becomes a trust, most people don't don't trust what sounds too good to be true. So it's hard to convince families that they should slow down and get the maximum amount of equity out of it, because they just want rid of the pain. Like they're acting from a very emotional place, not a logical place. But I would say over time, the more of us that do this, it becomes more common in the marketplace, then yes, it will be, over time, this will be, no matter how many competitors you have, if you can show families how to get every drop of equity out of a home, while in California, they're waiting 9 to 12 months anyways, so you can, start early in the process and have the house ready before the probate's even closed. So it will give you a really big competitive advantage, especially as we get more competition in the space.
Can you give me a few sentences to use with a cash investor to get them to partner with me in the estate? Are there a few sentences that I could say?
So you can say, a lot of times, Mr. Investor, I meet with families that really could use every bit of equity they could get for the estate, but they just simply don't have the liquidity. So I'm looking for an investor or a private money lender that can step up and help me, build their legacy while in probate. And the reward for the investor or the private money lender there is we can actually do this as a joint venture, or we can do it at a commercial mortgage interest rate. A lot of times it's not uncommon to loan money from 10 to 15%. So is that something you would be interested in partnering with me on, so I can offer a higher level of service to my clients? And you don't have to do anything. I'll bird dog the deals to you. I need capital backing for this.
Okay, great. And what I really called about was I am experimenting with different letters, and I went back and looked at some notes that I had a year ago. Before I came with you, I had listened to a couple of webinars from Frank Patrick, and he does not say, he does definitely say not to mention real estate in the first two letters. And of course I do that because I use variations of your letters that I test. So I was just wondering, what do you think of that?
So I don't think you should lead with real estate, but real estate is 90% of the problem for most families. So if you offer a service without a real estate component, then you're cutting out, like you're just reducing the reason they have to reach out to you dramatically. So I would say that you certainly include real estate in the message, but you don't lead with it. It's not the dominant theme of your letter. It's not, hey, I'm Joyce, I'm a realtor, I'm really good at what I do, and I, and this house, and like, it's not that type of a message. It's, my name's Joyce, I've got a team of people that help families in probate, and what we notice is that real estate is usually the biggest stress for most families because it's where all of the equity is held, and it's the reason there's no liquidity. So we have solutions in place for everything in the estate, but oftentimes that needs to start with the real estate solution. And obviously that's not the direct copy, but that's the message you're trying to send. So it's not I'm emailing you as a realtor. It's I'm mailing you as a solutions provider, and I know that real estate is probably your biggest problem right now.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very, very much.
And Joyce, I was just going to comment real quick for your first question. When, all of us partners on the call did this ourselves, and years ago when I had this idea, and we hear this from our people all the time, I had all of those services, but honestly, out of all the services that I offered, I can't remember anybody that wanted more than two of them. Nobody says, you don't have this or you that, so I'm not going to choose you. And often they didn't want any of them. So all those tools are great to have in your tool belt, and having a contractor that'll carry the invoice, having a rehabber, that just makes you that much more credible. But don't be too concerned if you don't have it right now. When you need it, you can go find it. More often than not, these people don't want to put the money into it. They just, it's found money. They just want to cash out and move on. But having those tools will really distinguish you from somebody else, and more often than not, you won't even need them. So does that make sense?
It does, and I sure thank you. I hope you guys know that I am learning from you.
Well, good. Thank you for, just like Renee, you're always participating. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Chad.
I want to underscore what Jim just said. So, what we teach, I think, especially for new people, sounds big and complex and intimidating. And these deals they are easier and simpler than any other deal I've ever done. And that's on the acquisition side or the listing side. The idea behind the reason for the complexity in our system is to differentiate you and to show that you're a different class of professional. That is, you give them multiple reasons to respond to your marketing. The hardest part about a probate deal is getting them on the phone. And once you get them on the phone and they realize that if you're following our system, you're done. You've earned the business if you get them on the phone. And it might not be the first phone call. It might be the second or third or fourth. But eventually, they'll see the value in what you do. But the reason we provide all of these options and all this complexity is mainly it just broadens the top of the funnel. It gives us a wider surface area from a marketing standpoint. Instead of having one reason to talk to us, they have 24 reasons to talk to us. And if they talk to somebody else, they're going to be focused on that I, me thing and have one very selfish offer where you had 25 things to offer. Now, I'll say exactly what Jim said. The most partners I've ever used on a single deal is 4, and that was clean out, contractor, estate sale, and a stager. And that's the most complex deal I've ever put together, all in one. Now, I've used most deals that have 1 or 2, maybe 2, but I've never done a deal with all 24 vendors involved. It's just not necessary. However, I talk about my estate sale company with almost every seller. I talk about the contractor. I talk about the clean out crews so everybody wants to know what their options are, but oftentimes that breaks them. They have a breakthrough and they go do what they should have been doing all along because they know you have their back. So if you're listening to this, don't get overwhelmed with the complexity. Just understand it's there to serve you by making it easier for you to be the one they get on the phone with. You're not going to have to go coordinate 24 subcontractors to get one listing.
Hope not. I don't think that it would ever happen. So thank you, though, Joyce, for participating. Like Renee, you're a regular contributor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have 2 more in the queue, guys. So we got 15 minutes, so we do have room for more. Next up is phone number ending in 6797. You're up next.
Hi, this is Mike Lynch from Massachusetts. I'm a newbie to the real estate industry, and we will get our first set of leads on the 20th.
Awesome.
So my question, actually, you guys led right up to it, and I think you pretty much answered it, but I was going to ask about building the team. And do you actually go out, or would you suggest going out and talking to people ahead of time, or would you suggest more, kind of giving the impression that you've got these people, and if you need them, go find them?
A combination of both. It's somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
So if you knew you had a $50,000 commission on a listing ready to go in MLS, how long would it take you to find an estate sale company, a clean out crew, a contractor, a stager, and a photographer? You could do that certainly, but it would be before you went home tonight. You would have those vendors and the ones that you could trust, right?
Right.
So you never really stop building your team. You should never let not having a team get in the way of taking action from a marketing standpoint. Get your letters in the mail. You can meet who you need to. So you just need, you can say, I have estate sale services, I have clean out crews, I have painters, stagers, whatever it is. And if tomorrow someone calls and says, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you sent this, I need help getting this house cleaned out, then you can go find that partner. But so get your marketing out the door as soon as possible and be confident that you can find those people. If you ever get stuck and you can't find those people, call the number on the top of the website and ask for me, and we'll get on the phone and we'll go find them. It's not that difficult to do. I have resources. In Probate Mastery, I give you at least 2 resources for each team member you should have, like where to find them, different directories and different methodologies. But so don't let it don't let it cause you to procrastinate and not get your marketing out there, because you can do this in a very short time if you have the motivation.
Okay.
That doesn't, I'm just going to say that doesn't mean if you have, you're going to make this a niche. When you have the spare time, go out and proactively look for them at the same time. Like Chad said, a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already got a few lined up and I've had some conversations, but I didn't, I'm kind of so far just talking about hypotheticals instead of reality, because I really haven't, being new to the business to begin with, and then being new to the probate specifically, I haven't gone too far with it. But then my other question was, pulling an investor as a licensed agent, how do I best get paid on that situation? Just by taking the listing, or do I work the deal with the investor?
So there's different ways you can do it. I mean, you can take a listing at 6 or 8 or whatever percentage you're comfortable with you can get, and then you can represent the seller only. I don't believe in dual agency. So the way I do it, I with investors especially, they're savvy. They don't need direct representation. So I'll present it to them as a savings of, hey, I've got this great deal that I'm holding off market. I'm going to, I'm only representing the seller, but I know that you're savvy and you buy homes. It's going to save you you don't have to pay a buyer's commission. I'll give this deal to you off market. You don't have to pay a commission. So it sounds really attractive. The reality is they're paying your commission. They're paying the seller's paying you, but it sounds good, right? The other way you can do it is you can in addition to that, I don't know if Soji is on this call, but Soji has such a strong relationship with his buyers that he's actually able to charge, I think he calls it a bonus. So he'll take the commission from the seller. Oh, let me back up. So with the investor, the front page of the offer that I use is an unrepresented party addendum. So it clearly says that the seller is represented by Chad as with exclusive agency. The buyer has no representation, and both parties sign that. So there's never any confusion that you have an unrepresented buyer in the transaction. But what Soji has done, and he's been really successful with this in REO, is where he started this. He has a buyer's list that strongly trusts him, and he actually will take the full listing commission, hold it off of market, run it through his buyer's list, and of course with the seller's permission. It's part of the strategy. But he'll run it through the buyer's list, the buyer, and say, there's a $25,000 buyer or $10,000 buyer's premium on this. So they're an unrepresented party, but they're paying to play. To have the exclusive rights to be on his buyer's list, they're willing to step up and pay $10,000 to $30,000 and like a buyer premium, which is not that uncommon in the auction world. People pay a 4 to 5, sometimes even higher percentage as a buyer premium to the auction platform. So it's not that uncommon. So you can charge a percentage premium or a fixed dollar amount on top of the commission that you're charging. Just make sure that your broker's okay with that. And, the other thing that you need to be aware of, like your brokerage, probably you share the listing commission, right? Correct. So you're splitting whatever split you agreed to. This is separate from the commission. This is a you can call it whatever you want, a buyer's premium or a bonus, but the broker probably won't split that with you. That is your money. So if you can, get a 6% listing and you and your broker split that 70, 30, 80, 20, whatever it is, and then you get a $10,000 buyer's premium, then that can go to you. You get the full $10,000.
So to set up a buyer's premium, are you suggesting that's a pay-to-play type of situation where you get a few buyers in a pool and say, look, if you want a first crack at whatever I come up with, this is what you're going to pay, or on an individual basis?
Yeah. When you're meeting these folks, so Mr. Investor, we actually have a pretty good knack at finding undervalued assets, and at the beginning of each listing, we have an off-market period, and obviously this is agreed to with my brokerage and the sellers. But what we'll actually do for the first 7 days, we'll hold the listing off the market, and only the people on my buyer's list get to see that. It's not, no one else in the marketplace has exposure to it. Even people in my office won't even know about it for 7 days. Now, what does that mean for you? In order to be on our buyer's list, we'd like to see a financial statement and, and proof of funds to know that you are a serious cash buyer. And we're going to provide you an exclusive listing that nobody else in the marketplace will see. There aren't going to be wholesalers out there hawking it around. Only the people on this email list will have an opportunity to make offers on this home. So you create an exclusive kind of club, like a really high value buyers list, and they're willing to pay to play, because if they can look at if they have 7 days to make a decision on a listing, a lot of times they'll, and if it's at a discounted price, if the family's highly motivated, then they'll have to pay 4 or 5% to an auction platform anyways, right? So you can, just thinking creatively, you can create a lot more revenue and a lot more urgency, and oftentimes you end up driving the price up anyways. Now, you have to make a decision whether you want to do a highest and best with that list, or if you choose the first offer that comes in, like, you've got to look at what your methodology is. But what I'll say is, if you can create an environment, an investor environment where there's exclusivity and there's a lot of value in your deals, they'll pay you a premium, because they're going to make more money, so they don't mind if you do. And if they do think that you're greedy and you making money is not right, you have the wrong damn buyers anyways. Go find better ones. Go find people with an abundance mindset. You don't want to work with the scarcity mindset people anyways.
Excellent. Okay. And one last question, if I could.
Sure.
So I am doing the probate leads with the broker of my office. We're a small office. And I was looking at the letters today, and all the letters are oriented towards one person. Does it make coming out as just Mike Lynch and not as a team type approach? Have you found that to be better, or are the letters just written that way because?
Well, I mean, we're trying to have a one-to-one conversation. The point of your marketing is for you, the point man on the team, to have a conversation with the personal representative, the point man for the family. Okay. So that's why it's a one-to-one format. Okay. If you were to say, it's my team to one, would also work. I mean, if you feel more comfortable with that, for sure, do that. Okay. But we're just trying to, the whole objective of our letters and our phone calls is just to make contact with the decision maker. Right. And from that point on, we introduce the family and we introduce the team. But the initial conversation, you're better off constraining that. Well, I won't say that. We found that what we've done is we constrain that to, the one-to-one contact, and then at the face-to-face appointment, that broadens out really quickly. So you meet the rest of the family. It's kind of like an hourglass. In the middle, on one side, it broadens out across the whole family and the estate, and on the bottom side, it broadens out across your operations team and your vendor team.
We were so suggestions on we're going to mail out letters and then jointly follow up. Would you recommend we kind of split the leads in half and half for Dave, half for Mike, type of thing, or would you recommend just a singular point person for the? It's hard to say without knowing the agreement you guys have. So is your agreement to put everything in one pool and split evenly? Yes. Which one of you are stronger on the phones? Be honest with me and yourself. Well, he's got more knowledge, but knowledge doesn't always work on the phones. Who's the best on the phones? I may be smoother. I may not be. Well, I think we're going to have to try to figure it out over time. What I would say is you guys should, you should sit down and clearly map out everything that needs to be done. From the day the leads come in until until escrow is closing and you've gotten that family to an estate planning attorney to set up a future estate plan. Okay. And however many variables there are, each of you, if it's just the two of you right now, you need to make an accountability chart based on that list. So if there's 100 things that have to be done, your name should be in 50 boxes and his name should be in 50.
And it shouldn't be arbitrary like, you take every other one. It should be based on what you guys are good at and what you enjoy doing. So whoever's best on the phones and whoever is has the least call reluctance and gets it done should be the one making the initial call. Whoever is best face-to-face should be the lead in the appointment. And it might take you some time to figure that out, but I'm serious about writing it down and making an accountability chart and really focus on what you're best at and what you enjoy the most, and that'll give you the highest chance of success and, more importantly, longevity. You'll be doing something you enjoy.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Well, we have two more in the queue. We're probably going to go just a few minutes over, guys. Next up is phone number ending in 0516. You're up next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Ellis. I'm in Central Texas. Been an agent for 8 years and an investor before that.
Great.
This is my first call. So I joined a little bit late, and I don't have so much a question as I guess when I joined the call, I wanted to say something to the lady who was concerned about the agencies that are offering the contractor and the fix-up and enlisting.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, although I will say I got a ton of value, what you just shared about the exclusive buyer email list and having the buyers pay a premium, that is really good. I'm going to implement that. That is really, really good. So just to go back, when I'm in a group of about, 100, 150 agents around the United States, and that's something that we've implemented for the last year or so, is we offer, especially if it's a distress situation or an inheritance, probate, that kind of thing, we'll offer them 3 options. One is buy it now, fast close, cash. Second is list it with just minimal staging. And the third is, do you want to net the most? And we give them 3 net sheets. And if they choose the third, which is a full renovation, then we charge our regular commission plus a management fee, which varies depending on the degree of how much is involved. But what I wanted to share was that, especially when it's in a probate or an inheritance, that's probate, they that 80% of the time, 90%, they choose fast close. That's what people are finding is. But what it helps is when we offer that second and third choice, it builds rapport and it makes them feel that we're here for them, to serve them, not to just make a quick buck. So I think it helps more with building the relationship and being able to offer the option. But most people don't take anybody up on it.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for sharing.
So, Michelle, I don't know if you've realized it yet, but you found the place you're supposed to be. Everything you guys are offering is exactly what we teach, and I'm really interested in learning more about the Mastermind group or whatever group you're affiliated with. And if you don't want to share that publicly, you could.
It's a guy named Ryan Fletcher. He leads it. So if you search for him, if you wanted to chat with me more about it, I'd be happy to share. But what we have a dearth of is good leads. That's what around, and I found y'all online. And because I've been doing more real estate, and I just kind of stumble upon deals. I don't actively seek them out, but I make a whole lot more on investment deals than I do on listing commissions. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. Any other comments, Chad?
No, thank you for being here, and I hope you stick around. You're cut from the right cloth to be here. I mean, everything you're doing is what we're teaching, and it's even down to providing multiple net sheet scenarios. That's exactly how I've bought every house. So I show them what it could be sold for, ARV, and then I'll walk them down, and they'll take the cash price. Because exactly what you said, 80-90% of them do not want anything other than emotional relief. And not from the death, from the stress of the situation. And it's oftentimes, it's still acting in their best interest. You identify their needs, and you step up and be the solution. And I mean, you can make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 spreads, and they're as happy as can be because they got the relief they wanted, and you got revenue that you would 10 to 1 what you would have earned as a realtor just offering to list the house.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you. Please keep coming back, and appreciate it. Looks like Renee is up again. Renee, did you want to close out the call? You had something you wanted to add? Are you there, Renee? All right. I guess, can you hear me, Chad?
Yeah.
Hello, hello? Okay. I think Renee just stayed in the queue when she was there before. So perfect timing, guys. Exactly 1 hour for the call. Great call today. I think I know who the winner of the week is, but we will officially announce it before the next call. But I want to close this call like I do everyone. I want to thank each of you for spending an hour out of your week and being here with us. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. And I want to challenge each one of you 100-plus people that were on the call, take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on the call today, and go out and put it into practice and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week, and we will talk to you the same time next Thursday. Take care.